Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of CookieCast. Today on CookieCast, it's the Getting Over podcast, our wrestling podcast. That's right, we've got another premium live event coming along this weekend, so we do a podcast. Bad Blood is back, and scores will be settled in this week's premium live event. Still getting used to saying that. We have gone through the predictions from last time, and we've gone through the predictions for this time. We've gone through a lot of news and pretty much everything in between. So exactly what you'd want from a wrestling podcast. Before we start, please do consider like, share, subscribe and comment. Leave a review where you can leave a review. And share the podcast around. That's the big one. Share it with everybody you know, whether they're a wrestling fan or not. Just share it with them. Right, let's get started. Here we go. This is CookieCast. Getting over.
Hello, welcome along. I'm starting the podcast. If you're on YouTube, you'll spot I am surrounded by wrestling belts, which can only mean one thing. We are back. Another WWE Premium Live event is on the horizon, so you know it's time for Getting Over right here on the CookieCast Podcast Network. And as per usual, we've got some wrestling news from the month for you, some predictions to make for the weekend ahead, and obviously we've got some results from the last event to discuss, so we will determine the new predictions champion. But who's that going to be? Here with me to find out is Mr. Paul Williams, Mr. Matthew Moore, and the almighty leader of the CookieCast Towers himself, Mr. Andrew Cook. All good, gents?
Yeah.
Good. So we will get to it. As I said, predictions title, as always, up first. And the current holder of the gold, none other than Mr. Andrew Cook, took the title in tiebreak last time out after a stellar performance, only matched at the time by Paul when we predicted SummerSlam. But will the good form allow a title retention without a tiebreak this time around? It seems we've had quite a few over the last few months, so we'll see. We went back to a Triple H standard 5, so 5 points to play for last time out. And the scores are in from Bash in Berlin. And in joint last place, but still with 3 out of 5, me, obviously, because that's just what I do. And unfortunately, Mr. Matthew Moore was the other person on 3. Oh, actually, yeah, and so was Paul. So, leaving the door wide open for Mr. Cook to swan right in, slap 4 points all over the table, and walk out with the gold held high again. So Andy has actually retained the title with no tiebreak. The event was okay. At best for me. Wasn't the most memorable one, but probably more memorable for the fact that it was the first real match in the whole Judgment Day fallout. So when it was Priest and Ripley versus Liv and Dom, nobody had Priest and Ripley winning that early. Yeah, we all got that one wrong. So that went right out the window. No clean sweep on the cards as soon as that result came in. But the other 4 that Andy got right, obviously Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill winning the women's tag team titles against Unholy Union. We had CM Punk victorious in the strap match against Drew. Gunther retaining the World Heavyweight Championship against Randy Orton, which everybody got that one. I think even if you've never watched wrestling before, when you've seen Randy Orton come out and Gunther come out, you'd probably have guessed that is not peak Randy Orton, shall we say. And then finally, Paul seemed to have some sort of issue during the last one and predicted Kevin Owens to win by count out, which absolutely didn't happen. And Cody Rhodes retained the WWE title. So yeah, as I said, Andy with the gold again. I do think that the Drew and Punk match was all right as well. The strap match was interesting. It's not been the best one of the feud for me so far, but for the fact that this has been going now since January on and off with the Royal Rumble and everything interwoven in between, I'm still not bored of it yet. I'm all right with it. Like, I don't know about you guys. Are you happy for them to pack it in now, or
long-term storytelling?
Yeah,
I
I
think
agree.
my quote would be should end here. Don't
Well,
mind long term storytelling, but this feels like, obviously, when we go into the predictions, it's about time. I don't think you can really get. There's nothing much else you can get from it.
Just sort of jumping ahead slightly, one of the matches that we're going to predict later on is the Hell in a Cell match between Drew and Punk this coming weekend. So that feels very much, if they are going old school, Hell in a Cell was always pretty much the full stop on any story, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But then this should at least be then the pause in that long-term storytelling, so that it maybe doesn't come back around. Like, they go their separate ways for a couple of months and something happens, maybe, I don't know, Royal Rumble again or something like that. I'm fine with that. Anyway, we won't discuss too much Bash in Berlin. Other than that, we have plenty of news this month. It has been relatively heavy in the news since the last time we were here, and for me, probably the biggest part is that Raw, as of next week, so not waiting for the Netflix deal, returns to 2 hours. And I don't know if anybody can hear that. That, my friends, is the sound of millions of wrestling fans screaming. Not in pain, not in disappointment. It's the sound of them screaming, "We told you so." This has been on the cards, surely, for as long as 5 years, do we think? Go on, Paul.
I don't know if you've got this covered, but I don't know if I just misread this or something. But is there a rumor doing the rounds that they're going to up SmackDown to 3 hours?
I haven't seen that, but Jesus Christ, I hope not. Oh man, that would be absolute insanity. It is kind of weird that NXT will be the same amount of time as Raw now, though, which it feels like
Well, it's
used
just,
to that.
It's just uniform across the board, and all shows are now 2 hours.
Mm-hmm. Well, for me, it's just excellent move. There's already too much content to get through in a normal working week. It feels very much like the final two fingers to Vince and his outdated practice. But the only kind of negative side of it, I guess, is what does it mean for the talent? Like, roster cuts coming, do we reckon, despite all the new revenue coming in from Netflix?
You'd imagine that they'd probably have a bit of a freshen up before it goes over to Netflix. They'll probably cull. So let's see, how many do you reckon's on the staff at the minute? Maybe 200 as a bit of a
all through
guesstimate?
through Raw, NXT, and SmackDown. Yeah.
But I wonder whether with Netflix coming, they'll do things like, oh God, what was it called? Heat, and like have little shows as well, like to kind of get. I know they've got NXT to get people over, but kind of fill the space, because I think if Netflix have paid a lot of money, they're going to want a lot of content, and Netflix, of course, like you have to go back and look at. I don't know how much is going in terms of the historical stuff on Netflix, like stuff from the network in terms of old matches and stuff. But if they've paid a great whack to get Raw, I wonder whether they'll be like, all right, well, here's like a hour show of, in that kind of Heat kind of mold or something like that, to kind of just stick on there as like, have you not had enough wrestling this week? Here's another show to kind of keep you kind of going.
Well, they've still, over the course of time, they've still been filming Main Event, and that's generally it. That used to be the one that almost Sky put on Sky One on a Saturday morning, wasn't it? Just to get people sort of lured in almost to buy Sky Sports when it was that way on at the time. But really, that's not really been relevant since BT Sport took it over, because they don't show that's gone to the network. But as far as I'm aware, I think everything's going over to the network, the library and everything. But it's only really the Raw deal that's kind of been publicised, because in the States at the moment, obviously it's all on Peacock, whereas we internationally still have WWE Network as it was when it first came out. So to the States, it's it's more of I think, a big deal about the fact that their flagship show is moving to an online provider because it's never been online before, but they're so used to getting the content from somebody that's not WWE Network, it doesn't really matter. Whereas, like over here, it's the full kit and caboodle. It's like everything's going. So like WWE Network dies the day that Netflix take it over, and that's been what 10 years. It's 10 years old because it started just after WrestleMania 30. So 10 and a bit years it's lasted internationally before someone's gone, oh, we can probably do that better for cheaper. I'll give you some money for that. So Netflix have already got the infrastructure though, haven't they? That's the main thing really. But yeah, I'm going back to the 2 hours thing. It's like I said, it's due to start next week, the episode following Bad Blood this weekend. And the TV deal actually was set to expire in October with the USA Network, but it's now going to remain in place until the switch to Netflix in January. The one bit I did see wasn't the SmackDown thing, though, Paul. It was the fact that they haven't confirmed that it will still remain at 2 hours once it hits Netflix. If it goes back up, shoot me now. No, thank you. As much as love my wrestling, I don't want to see. So what are we on currently? We didn't do this. So 3 hours for Raw. NXT makes it 5 hours. SmackDown makes it 7 hours, and then like pay-per-view another 3 to 4 hours. So you're talking 10 or 11 hours in 1 week's worth of stuff, plus any of the documentary stuff that they've spat out. I mean, it's almost like they don't want you to have a job. Anyway, speaking of documentaries, should we lead into that? And speaking of Netflix, I guess, the Vince McMahon series, Mr. McMahon, has landed on the streaming service as of the 25th of September. It's a 6-part series covering pretty much all of Vince McMahon's career since he took over from his dad. Now, halfway through the filming of this was when all of the allegations surfaced about Vince McMahon. Now, we have briefly discussed them in the past. We haven't gone into great detail because, I mean, nobody needs to hear that shit twice once they've read it themselves, let's be fair. However, the 6-part series claimed that it was going to be a bit of a deep dive into his career and all of the misdemeanors, shall we say. So not just the more recent stuff, but some stuff throughout the past. First and foremost, I know we mentioned this just before, come on, but we've all seen at least clips of it by now, right? Yeah. I believe it's myself and Paul that have seen the entire thing. I, as soon as it came out, I think watched 2 episodes the first night and then the rest over the following couple of days. For me, as a wrestling fan, there wasn't much in it that I didn't already know. I think that it feels more of a piece for people who are maybe new to it. And it's almost like a Netflix's thing of like, oh, look how scandalous this guy is. By the way, we're getting wrestling in January, so come and watch that then. But it doesn't detract from the fact that he clearly is an absolute filth bag on more than one level. I was very surprised, particularly in the last episode, that they actually showed the text message screenshots. I know they've done the rounds on the internet, but they did actually bring mention to the fact that in his sordid whatever he was up to, had named sex toys after male wrestlers as well. They brought that up nice and front and center. So yeah, it's very much a hit piece. There's no uncertain terms about that. Overall, kind of deserves it. So it wasn't terribly done. I feel like they probably could have got another like 6 episodes out of it anyway. They've skimmed the surface on a lot of it.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think they've literally only scratched the surface, and if they were to dig a little deeper, there's going to be so many more sort of payments that can be dug up that have like paid for sort of like things to go away and stuff like that.
So I listened. I've obviously seen the clip. I've seen like the adverts for it and stuff like that. But I've listened to the podcast with one of the executive producers, Bill Simmons, and he speaks to David Shoemaker, I think, who pops in it quite a lot. He's quite a good wrestling historian guy, and they said that they wanted to make the documentary accessible for everybody, because they said if they would have got a different director in to make, kind of, for want of a better phrase, a wrestling nerds film, they said they could have made that film, but people would have just been like, we don't know what 90% of this is, kind of thing, whereas they know 90%. I think they kind of went for that, but they did also say they could have made a 10 to 12 hour documentary. They could have made it 10 episodes as opposed to 6, and they left a lot of stuff on the floor that they cut out. And I mean, they said like there's some of it, and there's like just this. The director asks Vince a question, and he just stares at him for 20 minutes. And like basically, it's like he asks him a question, and he doesn't like the question, but doesn't get up and walk out, just fucking stares at him. And then like the director's like, it was the weirdest 20 minutes of my life, because not only did he stare at me for 20 minutes, it was 11:30 at night, because that's when Vince decided to turn up. So he'd turn up, get his makeup put on, dress himself up, and it would be like the day would get pushed later and later and later. So then they'd be hanging around waiting for Vince, and then he'd like rock up at like 10:30, 11 o'clock, get himself sorted, start this interview, and then he'd ask him a question, and then just like basically eyeball him for 20 minutes, which was just like, they're like, do we put that in? And just like put a load of voiceover over the top of it? Or just then he was like, I've never been so scared yet intrigued by somebody in
bear in mind,
the moment.
This is basically a guy who, like, infamously, like, depending on, like, well, obviously you can't believe everything you listen to and you hear stuff like that, but over the course of various podcasts and stuff like that, it's become apparent that he runs off probably about 2 hours sleep a night or something like that. He's very much he doesn't see work as work. He sees work as almost like existence and stuff like that. And he needs the grind to be able to sort of feel like he's doing something.
Well, he needed some kind of grind.
Yeah.
Do you not think as well, looking at the documentary, even though it's never been said out loud, isn't it strange how they've waited until he, like, literally the second he's out the door, that the new headquarters is all finished and shiny and new in a building where none of all this shit happened? It feels very much like a separation on purpose to me.
I have a very long, very extensive theory about why all of this has happened now. There is a theory throughout all of these sorts of things that somebody just keeps a log of all of the stuff that goes on truly behind the scenes, and then when they need it, they go and like, oh, we need some dirt on this person because we're trying to get rid of them because we want their massive business. And like, what have we got for us? It's like, horrific text messages. Will that do? Have you got swords? Yeah, we can sort one. Cool, let's roll with that. It's timing does seem to be everything in this situation, and the timing was almost perfect for certain aspects of it.
I do think the whole sale of the business and the bit that sort of preceded that was very messy, with the fact that he's a wrong un, he's gone to retire, oh, now he's come back again because he needs to prepare the business for sale. And like, that felt really, like, it felt weird at the time. I remember us talking about it. Like, we were like, oh my God, he's back. But I don't know what need he had. He owned the shares. If the sale was going through anyway, like, he'd have still got the same payout that he got. But there was a clip in it that said that when he finally parted ways, that from the new company stock that he realised around $2 billion.
Well, there was a clip at the start of the first episode saying that the company, the asking price was $9 billion for the company. It's like, all right,
That's big boy money then.
That's more money than I can even count. Like, it's just like, why does anything need to be? It's bizarre. But yeah, if you've not seen it, and you have a slight interest in it, go for it, because it is worth a watch. I would say that I expect that once the federal case is concluded, we may well get that director's cut with that extra stuff off the floor, with a resolution to, you know, whatever happens in the case. One thing we might not get is any more one-on-one time, 20 minutes in the eyeballs or not, with Vince McMahon, because he'll either be in prison,
Well,
or not wanting to do it ever again.
Well, on that note, did you see that there was already talks about the fact that he's reached out to Kevin Dunn, obviously, which is a name that will be familiar to anyone who's been a wrestling fan for the past 25 to 30 years, and that he's already reached out to him to do like a counter argument piece and stuff like that.
It's like a rebuttal, isn't it? It's like, you've said this, so now I'm going to tell you the real truth. It's like,
it would be the most. I mean, to say, if you want to argue that was one-sided, like against it, there would be like, you would be able to see the amount of like stuff that had been laid on with that trowel for about 2 years from that perspective, if it ever does get made and stuff like that. But it'd be interesting to see who would participate in it, because I get the feeling that anyone that's left within the company won't want anything to do with him, because it's just it almost puts you in like an untenable position. And then
my last part on this would be that I think, having watched it, the only person who buried themselves more than Vince McMahon was probably Bret Hart. The opening episode, Andy, the bit that you will have seen, everybody's talking about Vince McMahon. Bret Hart talks about himself. Of course, because he's got to put himself over in that opening sequence. And also for him, I know he's said it before, he said it in his book, but genuinely how that guy has not done his own head in on the basis of he genuinely believes that Owen Hart died because Bret Hart left WWF. No, is the answer to that one. And check your own ego there, fella, because that is just a bizarre, like, that is such a bizarre logic. Such a bizarre logic. And by the way, the Owen Hart episode, whilst good, is a little bit at the same time. They show some footage from after it's happened, not whilst it's happening, obviously, but stuff that people tend to forget, shall we say. But yeah, worth a look. Definitely see what happens in the future if we get some more. But yeah, we could probably do a full episode just on the document. We could do an episode per episode of the documentary if we really wanted to. But we will park that for now and leave that there. In slightly happier news, but a throwback to the old ways, Saturday night's main event is set for yet another comeback. This time, the event will take place on the 14th of December, and it's at the Nassau Coliseum in Long Island, New York. Ticket sales have reportedly gone pretty well since their on-sale date of the 20th of September. That may be in part to the fact that alongside this, Long Island resident and WWE Hall of Famer Mick Foley has signed a new Legends deal with the company. So I'd probably expect him to pop up at that show, if not, because it's probably about 10 minutes from his house. So yeah, we'll get him making his return right there in his hometown, as it were. Other things that have changed on TV since we were last here. NXT has moved networks in America. Hasn't gone to Netflix. It's gone to the CW network. That launched as of the 1st of October. They're not filming for the next couple of weeks, at least, in the Performance Center. So full arena shows for the NXT crew. And they got brand new versions of the logo to kick it all off. And so slightly new branding. It's gone silver instead of gold and rainbow. It's a bit more blocky. It's not the most imaginative rebrand, if I'm honest. But, of course, with a new logo means new titles, which means at some point probably less space in here. We all know how that goes. But yeah, new men's and women's main titles. No, obviously, probably no reason to rebrand the North American. But the tag titles also do have the old logo on, so I'd expect some new ones of them shortly. CM Punk kicked off proceedings because it was in his hometown, so of course Pepsi Phil's got to get himself in amongst it. The best part of that was he was special guest referee, and with a direct nod, I think it was a nod anyway, to Shawn Michaels, wore the vest version of the referee shirt, tight shorts, and stole his cowboy hat for a little bit before the show as well, which was very funny to watch. And the final piece of news from TV that has changed since the last time we were here is we do have a new Intercontinental Champion. So Braun Breaker had taken the title from Sami Zayn, given it the big speech about how it was important to him because, family and historical and blah, 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 blah. And they had a tournament to crown a number one contender, which ended up being Jay. And Braun Breaker lost it on his second title defense, I believe it was. They need to take that guy away from it now, make him into a big angry bastard and bring him back early next year. Like, move him up straight away for me. Don't have him with the Intercontinental title because he should be ripping people in half. However, very happy to see Jey Uso as the Intercontinental title holder. Went down very well in this house. Two young men almost did a backflip when they realised what was going on. So he seems to be almost the number one merch seller after Cody Rhodes as well at the moment. So they seem to have found a bit of a diamond there. So all going well for Jey Uso. So very happy about that. So that's pretty much it news-wise. We do have our usual predictions, and this time around it is Bad Blood. However, we're just going to pause it right there just for a moment. You won't notice a thing, so don't touch the dial, and we will be back to you with some predictions momentarily. See, blinked. We're back. It's almost like you would have had enough time to go and check out all the other different podcasts that we have on CookieCast, because don't forget there's football, we've got some NFL, we've got some F1, we've got some Darkest Timeline. Just go and have a look, and also click subscribe if you've made it this far. It doesn't cost anything, and we would absolutely love you for it, so thank you very much. So please do that. Right, it's time. It's time. It's what you're all here for. It's a predictions time. So it's Bad Blood, the return of Bad Blood, no less. And it's the first time in WWE era, I believe, but it's actually the fourth time overall that this event or an event of that name has taken place. So the State Farm Arena in Atlanta, Georgia is the venue for the action this weekend, October the 5th, and it's the 27-year anniversary of the first event to the day. That also featured the first ever Hell in a Cell match. Anybody? Wait, Paul's going to tell us who it was.
Undertaker versus Shawn.
Correct. Shawn Michaels defeated Undertaker, no less, to become the number one contender for the WWF title at Survivor Series in 1997. And we all know how that turned out.
Nope, nothing happened there. Went off without a hitch. Absolutely no sort of repercussions whatsoever. Absolutely
no full episode of the Vince McMahon documentary that references that for a good half of it on Netflix right now. So yeah, also a little bit of trivia on the event, because it will be the first premium live event to be held on the same night as a UFC pay-per-view since the two companies merged to form TKO Holdings back in September 23. Because of this, Bad Blood actually has an earlier start time of 6 p.m. Eastern, so 11 o'clock in the UK. And that's so the two brands aren't competing for against each other for airtime. Makes a lot of sense. Well played. Again, this time around, we are in standard Triple H booking territory, so 5 matches on the slate, which I have taken the information from WWE.com to confirm. All the information is correct at time of recording, but say it with me, people. The card is subject to change. So, without further ado, let's get stuck into some predictions, and the first of which is the Women's World Title match. So, Liv Morgan defending as champion against Rhea Ripley. So Bad Blood seems like a mega appropriate time and place to solve a few of the Judgment Day issues that have popped up in recent times. And it all seemed well just a few short months ago. So Rhea returned from her injury and was ready to take back the title at SummerSlam. until, as we all know, Dominic joined forces with Liv by betraying his former mammy, turning on Rhea during that same match. Later that night, Finn Balor cost Damian Priest the World Heavyweight Championship in his match against Gunther, sealing the end of Judgment Day, kind of as we knew it at that point. Bash in Berlin saw the newly named Terror Twins take on Dom and Liv, with Ripley pinning the women's champion in her signature way to get the win and then set up the match. A slight wrinkle has been added into this match last week, in theory, to stop Dirty Dom influencing the result of said match. Spoiler, he'll still be involved somehow, because otherwise, why would he not be there? But he's going to be suspended above the ring in a shark cage. I'm trying to think the last time they used that. I think it was an NXT event. I have a feeling that there was a tag team match, or a match involving a tag team. I don't know whether like Enzo and Cass, and Enzo was in the cage or something like that. I have a vague memory of that, but I may be wrong. Anyway, we're going to find out this weekend what's going to be more important to Rhea Ripley. Is it going to be getting back the title, or is it going to be inflicting the damage on the woman who destroyed everything she held dear at one time? If it's the latter, does that open the door for Liv to retain the gold? What do we think, gents? And who would like the first prediction?
I'll go. I've gone with Rhea Ripley to win.
Okay.
Feed into. I'll explain when I predict the match later on.
Okay, no worries. I am going to go straight in and go against Matt on that one. I think Dom will still have the influence somehow. I think the one I'm thinking of, I definitely remember a pair of brass knucks being dropped through the railings for the finish. And it's been long enough now that obviously I can't remember the exact specifications, so who's to say they won't recycle that finish. So that's kind of where I sit on that. So I'm going to go for Liv. Paul?
Yeah, same for me. The fact that we all had the same sort of thought process where we thought Judgment Day were going to win the match, the mixed tag, the last time out. I think if Rhea does win, it kind of kills the Judgment Day thing, like stone dead. There's not really anywhere for him to go with it, so that's why I've gone for Liv to retain.
Okay, Andy.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you both. I've got some sort of. I almost want to say an escape from an inescapable cage, leading to a win. I said to you guys off air the other day, Rhea Ripley is becoming very, very quickly becoming my favourite wrestler. I think in a lot of areas she's just ticking a lot of boxes. I think when that title eventually makes its way back there, it will sit there for a very long time, barring injury. I imagine that's probably why it's not going to make its way there anytime soon. Because it's just she's the female Roman Reigns as far as the title is concerned. It's that kind of, once it's there, it's staying there.
It's that age-old thing of sometimes the title makes the wrestler, and sometimes the wrestler makes the title. At this point in time, she's big enough. She doesn't need it for me. But anyway, so
just briefly going back to the shark cage thing. Have you ever noticed how a Bronson Reed, a Braun Strowman type, never seems to get put in those shark cages, but someone who just so happens to be thin enough to slip between those cage pipes or railings just always seems to get put in them shark cages. Strange, that, isn't it?
I mean, I'd like to see their health and safety record on the actual. I'm assuming it's not a game used shark cage from the actual sea, because if it was, they maybe got it cheap from a really bad company that had a really terrible accidents at work kind of record. Anyway, yeah, we will move on. And I'm assuming Matt's going to allude to the other Judgment Day match that we have on the card, so we'll go straight into that one. It's Damian Priest versus Finn Balor. So straight up, Bad Blood theme continues into match 2. See the former World Heavyweight champion Damian Priest looking to gain a measure of revenge over the man who cost him that title, as we mentioned. We've been through the setup following Judgment Day's SummerSlam implosion. So quite simply, is Priest going to get his redemption, or will Finn get the win? I feel like we need to go to Matt first, so I don't like crap all over his explanation. So we'll throw it back to Mr. Moore.
So I've gone with Damian Priest for this one as well. I mean, their nickname is shocking, but
yeah.
I feel they're going to kind of strike while the iron's hot with these two and give them like a bit of a run, kind of holding the belts and stuff like that. So that was it. Kind of really like I just thought they're going to strike while the iron's hot. The name's shocking, but Damian Priest.
I mean, can you imagine had the Vince McMahon documentary come out after all of this, if this was a time far gone? And as we mentioned about him naming things after certain people, Terror Twins was definitely in his bag of tricks for sure. Absolutely. So I have gone with Matt on this one. I don't think they'll give it all Judgment Day's way. I think Priest will win this one. I'm a bit unsure as to the running order, what will be the running order, because I feel like that the women's title match could be first, like overall, but I think that they're going to be intrinsically linked in some way with the outcome of it. And is it a case of Dom costs Rhea the match, so then Rhea comes out and helps Priest to win? So that's kind of my theory on this one. So if we stick to the same order, then I'll go Paul next.
Yeah, Priest for me as well. I think it's one of those ones where, in the same way that a Liv loss kills any momentum she's got, I think a Priest loss kind of does the same thing for him. Like if they're like, he was obviously the top guy, and then obviously had the belt. He lost the belt, but the match was like screwed and stuff like that. So they've kind of in the point where they need to build him back up again. I was watching something the day where they said he almost means more to the company now that he's lost the title than he did when he had it, which is weird.
Because I disagree with that personally.
Well, in more in the way that he's more over as a babyface than he ever was as a heel.
I just, as we said moments ago on the other match, about the title making the wrestler or the wrestler making the title, it's like him and Rhea are the exact opposite, because I guess they're a similar stature in many ways, but he needed that title, I think, to become relevant or as relevant as he is, and now he's lost it. Of everybody that's involved, right down to Carlito in the bottom end of the Judgment Day, I think Priest is probably the most at risk of getting lost in the shuffle here, because the other, like the lower end of Judgment Day can break off into the tag team division as they used to do anyway. Dom and Liv are obviously like the double acts now for the headline spot in that group. It's probably between these two guys for like the race to become relevant again, really.
Yeah.
Andy, we've got your prediction to round out that one.
Yeah, we're in clean sweep territory here. I fully agree with everything Orange said, and I'm also in the Damian Priest.
Okie dokie. Right, so first clean sweep of the podcast. As it was laid out in my book last time, it was the second match, I believe, that we had a clean sweep of predictions for the Judgment Day thing that we all got wrong. So it might actually happen again should the result go the other way. Anyway, moving along. The next match I have on the card is the Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns together against the Bloodline. It'll be Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu representing the Bloodline. So after the last 4 years, did anybody have Cody and Roman teaming together on their 2024 bingo card? A little early for me. Oh, hang on. No. Paul's just pulling the leg. Right. So
for a second there, I was convinced it was me. I was like, there goes my internet again. But I can see you guys moving. So I'm like, wait. Yeah. For once, it's not my internet.
Will he just pop back in?
Willie Womansey, here we go. Place your bets now. It's podcast bingo, ladies and gents. Do you think, we'll put a poll up on the screen, do you think that Stu will just pop back in going, so what have you predicted? Or will he magically drop off the call altogether? And there's our answer. If you managed to predict it with the 1 second you had to predict, let us know. We'll get a prize out to you. It will be something wrestling related, and it'll be something delightful.
He'll be halfway. By the time he gets back on, he'll be halfway to the women's championship match. So, wow, why have they not made any predictions?
It's because you're going to come back in and like, well, I've predicted all of my matches. You guys don't get any points because you didn't predict anything. I'll catch you next time. Two things. One, I saw a clip of the end of a match with Rey Mysterio where he got unmasked, and I was like, ooh, and I was like, things like that. How much time and effort do they put into getting the right camera angles to not show his face in that scenario? I was like, they have done that well. Like, I imagine even people who were there in person were like,
he's a seasoned veteran who's thinking. Then the best thing I saw was someone put, give a fuck. We've seen his face on the internet. Just Google it. That absolutely killed me. That one. I've seen his face a million times. If you Google it. Now let's re-enter Stu. What would you think we're talking about there?
I have no idea. That was sorry, ladies and gentlemen, for the technical issues. It seems that indeed the gerbils of Hull are not pedaling fast enough to power the internet dynamo as it goes. Where were you up to, boys? You fill me in, and then we'll carry on from where I was.
We were talking about Rey Mysterio being unmasked on Raw or SmackDown.
But
it was by accident.
He's winning the competition to be the shortest yet oldest man to ever look like a jacket potato at this point in time.
We just say the best thing is you see all the comments underneath and everyone's like, give a fuck, I can see it on Google anyway.
Oh, right, okay. So I will compose and reset and we will go back to the predictions if that's all right. So no, Paul didn't have Cody and Roman teaming together on his bingo card for the year. And even if you did anybody have that match being against Solo Sikoa? Probably not. I didn't. Not this, like I say, not this year anyway. So the current undisputed champ, Cody Rhodes, will line up alongside the man that he took it from at WrestleMania 40, Roman Reigns, who returned at SummerSlam. Reigns returned in an attempt to re-establish control of the bloodline. However, as we know, Sikoa, Jacob Fatu, Tama Tonga, and Tongaloa left the original tribal chief laying on SmackDown. It was the USA Network premiere of SmackDown, and the bloodline were looking to leave their mark by laying out Cody. But then Roman came back there as well and helped issue a beatdown to his own. So following that, the unlikely pair have been booked together in a tag match to face the new bloodline. Randy Orton's not happy about it. Kevin Owens isn't happy about it. Cody said, go fuck yourself, lads, I'm doing it anyway, pretty much. So yeah, but it's pretty much what he didn't give a monkey's. Having watched SmackDown last week, he could not give a monkey's what big old thick Randy Orton said. But yeah, the bloodline are going to be represented at Bad Blood by Sikoa and Fatu. They're going to have to work together to take out the current champ and the original tribal chief, but the guy's called the Samoan Werewolf. Jacob Fatu is an absolute monster. Wasn't sure his style was going to work particularly well in WWE, but he seems to be doing all right. Can definitely hold the title better than half of the other people in that group. At least he gets it the right way up. So yeah, new bloodline or old bloodline, I guess, is the question. Well, should we reverse it? Should we go to Andy first this time?
I was in two camps on this one, and all day I keep going back to my prediction. I'm like, well, what about could it go this way? There was almost a coin toss involved, a coin toss. That's the one. A coin toss involved. However, in some kind of weird way, it feels like I'm going against my prediction in a weird way. But I've gone with Jacob and Solo take the win here.
Okay.
As with anything like this, I feel there's more afoot. And whereas I'd be like initially I was like, it's a no-brainer. It's Cody and Roman. I was like, as the days gone on, the more I've looked stuff up, I'm like, it doesn't sound like it's supposed to be them. So I've had to put the points, go for the goals.
Okay. Well, we can't argue against you after the last two episodes, can we? So I'm certainly not gonna. I'm gonna jump in. I'm going Bloodline as well. They've not mentioned anything about anybody being bad from ringside or nonsense like that, and ultimately it's still going to be 4-on-2 at one point. I think you've got the added wrinkle of, are we going to then see the conflict of Orton and Kevin Owens come down to help them out? And are they going to actually be able to go through with it by possibly helping out Roman Reigns? But ultimately, I think that they'll end up causing some kind of distraction, and Fatu will just rip them a new one, is my prediction for the end of that. Matt, do you want to go next?
I've gone with the Bloodline as well. Yeah, people will get involved. It'll be messed up somehow, and then it'll lead. I don't know. It's obviously a funny story at the moment because there seems to be like Cody's got 2 or 3 things all at once to kind of deal with, and obviously they could pull the trigger on any of them at any time. So obviously the kind of Owens thing is lingering. Obviously the Orton thing is there as well, the Reigns thing as well, and also the main Bloodline with Solo Sikoa. So I've gone Bloodline, so I just think it's going to be messy. It's going to be a messy end.
I feel like they're keeping their options open for WrestleMania at the moment, and like in really early stages, in the sense of they're covered if somebody gets an injury, but they could also do like a 5-way match for the title, like, if they really wanted to at this point. But if they're not careful, the title's going to get lost in all of this, because it kind of, Cody's not had the most exciting for all the build and all the pomp and circumstance that came with finishing the story, and then the next night about beginning his next one. Kind of feel like we're still waiting a little bit. I know he's mega popular still, but I don't know. He's only going to get so much grace, I think. So this is where Paul now steams in and picks Cody and Roman on Point Island.
Well, I think, I don't know if it was last podcast or the podcast before that, we said Survivor Series is on the horizon. Last couple of years they've done War Games. Probably need to build to that. What better than Bloodline versus Bloodline 2.0? And one thing that hasn't been mentioned yet is there's a certain member of the Bloodline who hasn't been seen for about 6 months.
Not because of any DUIs, before anybody says.
Might have, been allowed to clear a bit of schedule.
Oh, no, not that one. No.
Get some filming, put on the back burner so you can, go and set up a big,
at least I was talking about a good one.
Storyline. Yeah, I think I too would like to go for the Solo and Jacob pick, if I may.
Okay.
And I believe we're about to see only the second time that Roman Reigns has been pinned in a match this year, and I believe it will be the Dwayne that causes that particular occurrence.
Bold, that is bold, but it has resulted in 2 clean sweeps. So currently, the entire predictions is resting on the Rhea Liv match, whether it'll be a huge tiebreak or Matt will just be doing the little dance on his own.
I may have to revise that pick if that's not the main event, though. Because obviously, if it's not the main event, there is no way that Dwayne's coming back, but like not the big sort of reveal at the end of the show. Is he? Let's be honest.
Well, the thing is, though, once the recording is done, it's in the book.
Oh no, I'm still more than happy with the pick, but I'm just saying match placement on the card.
Yeah.
Also, like, can I put an asterisk? Can I change my pick if the other person wins?
Yeah, it definitely don't work like that. Sorry, boys. Right, 2 to go. And a penultimate one is the WWE Women's title match. So Nia Jax defending as champion against Bayley. Talk about an overly complicated build to a match. So on September the 13th edition of SmackDown, Jax stated that Nick Aldis had booked a title match for Bad Blood, but had no confirmed challenger. Out pops Bayley, wants a match. Out pops Naomi, wants a match. So a tornado tag match was booked. Not a number one contenders match. A tornado tag team match was booked. Nia Jax and Tiffany Stratton versus Bayley and Naomi. If Jax and Stratton won, whoever was pinned had to leave SmackDown. If Bayley and Naomi won, the winning participant would get the title match at Bad Blood. Still kind of a number one contenders match in a way, but overly complicated. Particularly when Bayley and Naomi both pinned Nia Jax at the same time. So you're thinking, all right, cool, long-winded, triple threat match, right? No bother. No. So then they went back to having a number one contenders match on SmackDown the following week, and we were back to square one. So Bayley won the number one contenders match against Naomi. Tensions between Nia and her assistant / friend Tiffany Stratton have been teased. Obviously, they've got the Money in the Bank situation going on there as well. Few tensions between Naomi and Bayley been teased as well. I mean, Naomi will probably be more worried about the fact that Uno might sue her after last week's ring gear, if you get a chance to see that, because it was a direct copy. But yeah, this feels like there's a high chance of a cash in this time around. Just throwing that in, but it might be too early still. So it's either going to be Tiffy interferes, Naomi interferes. I genuinely don't really know which way this one's going to go. But we're here to make a prediction, and a prediction we shall make. So, Paul, do you want to lead us off on this one?
I've not said it for a while, so I'll get the chance to say it now. There is absolutely no chance Bayley wins this match. Nia Jax wins here, please.
Okay. I thought you were going to give us a butt there. Okay. Andy?
Paul stole my line.
I had to give him the first pick on the Bayley match.
I was going to go with... There's absolutely no... Yeah, so I agree with Paul. There is absolutely no way that Bayley wins this match. I have also agreed with you, Stu, that every single thing I've seen says, don't forget, there could be a cash in, but there probably won't be. I'm like,
no.
Okay, so right, mate.
Yeah, I'm on that front as well, Nia Jax. So we could be entering really serious tiebreak territory in a minute if Matt picks the same way. I think that they haven't probably sold enough pink briefcases yet on the website to warrant her getting rid of it. So I can see it being Survivor Series without an issue. But yeah, I'm staying with Nia Jax for now. I think they'll send Naomi and Bayley down a road after this, personally, and have them two rowing for a while. So yeah, Matt, round that one off for us.
I've got Nia Jax as well. Why is Naomi in this match? To eat the pin.
She's not in it. She's not in it. That's me. Sorry. She will be on the sidelines probably. So it's Nia Jax versus Bayley.
All right, then to cause the thing that happens to make a pin Bailey. Basically, yeah. So
cool. Okay, yeah, that was me sending a duff thing through from last week. I apologise. I've kind of set you up there, Matt. So sorry. Right, we will move on. So not only have we had a technical issue at my end and another technical issue that's caused me to be an absolute tool. Hopefully, there will be some tools from under the ring being used in the final match on the predictions, which is the Hell in the Cell match. CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre. Will this possibly be the final chapter? So last time out, we went through the whole Punk Drew timeline. So I'm not going to run you through the full listing again. If you listened last time, you'll know. And thank you for doing so. Again, if you subscribed, even better. Thank you very much. Quite simply, in terms of official matchups, Drew won at SummerSlam, Punk won the strap match at Berlin, and now we need a decider. And for a rivalry as heated as this, what better match to conclude a series, as we mentioned earlier, than Hell in a Cell? It was booked by Raw GM Adam Pearce after Drew had laid out Punk on the Raw following Bash in Berlin. And again, he took the bracelet from Punk's wrist. But instead of stealing it and keeping it this time, he just ripped it to pieces. What a horrible man, you ripping up a plastic bracelet. And again, Hell in a Cell usually means a definitive winner. But who's it going to benefit? Surely the winner of the series has to kind of be in line for a title match next, you'd have thought. But then what of the loser? Most of the year has been spent within this rivalry, so whatever comes next, to me, needs to be booked carefully so they don't lose any steam from it. So on the anniversary of the very first, who leaves the 53rd Hell in a Cell victorious? Matt, do you want to lead us off on this one?
I've gone with Drew McIntyre. I think he benefits most from winning the feud kind of thing. I suspect that Seth Rollins might have something to do in this match as well.
Okay. I mean, that's obviously if he's recovered from his bad fall getting thrown out of the stands at the NFL at the weekend.
Terrible.
Was he wearing a Bears shirt in a game
that
didn't have the Bears in it, by the way, as well? Right, okay, so Matt has gone for Drew. Paul, do you want to go next?
I really want to pick Drew because I think it makes the most sense from the sort of the feud. But I think Punk's going to be the next challenger for Gunther, so it makes more sense for him to win. So I'm going to have to go for Punk for that reason.
Okay. Andy?
In all possible definitions of the word, I am with Paul on this one. I really wanted to pick Drew for this, but it feels like it's Punk's to win for other reasons. Like we've said, Hell in a Cell is the full stop of a feud. So I think it's maybe time to take old Pepsi Phil off to other things.
So we've got at current throw, Matt was the only person with a different prediction up to now. He's still the only person with then a different prediction in the final match as well. Until now, because I'm going to go for Drew as well. I think if Drew doesn't win and then doesn't challenge, what does he do? I can't, like in my head, I can't work out where he fits in, because I agree with what Matt said in the sense of we've got Rollins on the horizon for Punk. That's been bubbling for a year, almost to SummerSlam, when he made his return and Seth was a bit Effie and Jeffy down at ringside because he was clearly delighted about it. So I think that feels like a good time to kickstart that again, because they can bring up the return and all the rest of it, and et cetera, et cetera. So I've gone for Drew. So we might still need a tiebreak next time around, but we will see. But in terms of the predictions, that is all 5 matches fully predicted. We are locked and loaded, ready for the weekend. So yeah, unless anybody's got anything else, all we've got is time to say thank you very much for listening along. Thanks for joining us on another episode of Getting Over, and enjoy the weekend. We'll see you next time around.
So there you go, watch things out. Another one done. another premium live event to come, and everything you could possibly want. If you want to predict these matches and get in on the action, if you do the same or better than us, we will send you a wrestling related gift, a prize, some might say. So all you have to do, go to the website, click the email button, it'll auto-populate an email, and you just say, this is who I think is going to win these matches, send it. If we get it before the matches start, and you do better, or the same as us, we'll send you a wrestling gift. Other than that, please do consider like, share, subscribe and comment. Leave a review where you can leave a review. And like I say, do check out the website, thecookiecast.com. Right, that's enough from me. I'm going to catch you guys later. Until then, I'm going to say bye. And like I say, I'll see you later.
Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening to Cookie Cast.